and it powers up. In 1997, Apple Computer released the eMate 300 laptop computer. The last product in the Apple Newton line, the eMate was an adaptation of the Newton handheld PDA for the classroom environment, adding features to make it more manageable and more durable. In this video, we're going to give a brief overview of the eMate and take a look at some of its capabilities. All right, let's take a walk through the externals of the eMate. This is one of the translucent green ones, which are the most common design. There were some colored ones, but they were rare, usually used for developer or betas. You can actually see through the case and see the components on the inside, which is kind of cool. The clamshell is kind of swoop shaped, which is kind of nice. It's a great soft design and it makes it quite inviting. On the left side, we have the power port where a DC adapter is used. And this is our communications or networking port, which is what these two little diagrams mean. On this side, we have the ever mysterious multi-connect port. This is a custom port that was built for the Newtons, specifically for the 2000 and the 2100 Newton message pads, as well as the eMate. This connector is actually quite hard to find. On the Newton 2100, it is the only external connectivity. On the eMate, we actually have a normal Apple serial port. But if you want to use this port, which can be used for multiple functions, you need an adapter. These adapters are quite rare and difficult to find. More on that later. On the back, this is the IRDA port. This is a high-speed infrared serial port, basically, that allows communications between eMates and other Newton devices and other devices as well. On the other side, we have a headphone jack and two PCMCIA sockets. These sockets can take memory cards, expansion cards, networking, preloaded applications, things like that. On the bottom, this port can be used for securing the laptop to a desk or to a security device. There's this really nifty slider here, which shows the serial number. I'm actually not sure what this is for. If anybody knows why there's a cover over there, please leave a note in the comments. I'm very curious. On the bottom, eMate, obviously from Apple Computer, circa 1997, right there. Awesome. Assembled in Taiwan, model number H0208, which I believe was the last version of this that was made. There's a charging port right here, and of course the reset button. Let's take a look at the inside. The clamshell opens with a little push button on the front, and the lid comes up like that. Inside we have a very comfortable standard keyboard that has a decent stroke to it. It's actually quite comfortable to type on. The keyboard's slightly smaller than a standard PC keyboard, but it's actually quite easy to work with. And of course it has the stylus. In addition to the function keys along the top, we have the standard Apple splat keys. And there are some oddities like the apostrophes in the lower left, but in general, it's quite a comfortable keyboard to work on. The only other addition is these two buttons, which are actually not buttons, they're sliders, and they control brightness and contrast on the display. Now, this particular eMate has a bad battery pack, unfortunately, so we will need to plug in the external power. I will be replacing the battery pack and rebuilding it in a future video, but for now, we will go ahead and take our power outlet and plug it in. Power is in the back left here. Plug that in. And I don't don't think there's actually any indicator that there's, oh, there is. You have a little orange light in the back there. And it powers up. There we go. All right. So zooming in here a little bit, as soon as a Newton is reset, the first thing it needs to do is recalibrate the digitizer. So it's asking for a pen input so we can make sure that wherever I'm tapping on the display is correct. So we're gonna go ahead and tap in the X here. Another one down here in the corner. Like that. We're having a power up. Fantastic. The Newton OS is actually loaded on ROM within the device. So when you power it up, it activates a bunch of things out of the system RAM and loads them up. There's actually a memory card inside of it that allows for this. Okay, power was restored. You might note that every time you tap or click something on the Newton, you'll get a little bink noise. And it changes to give it a sort of a little creative interface. This eMate has NewtonWorks on it, which is a set of applications that allows for creativity such as documentation and drawing and similar things like that. At the moment, we're in a notes document that lets us go ahead and type and do some basic editing. I've already typed a little bit here. The keyboard is quite comfortable to type on and easy to make edits and changes. Now, as far as editing goes, it's important to note that the Newton has obviously the standard shortcuts for moving around, word. I'm using the Option key and the arrow keys. However, because it's a Newton, it has other functions, such as if I wished to, say, delete that word comfortable, all I need to do is scribble it out. And off it goes. This type of soft interface is quite common when you want to move things around. Say I want to take that word, move it over here. I can highlight. Let's see, I remember how to do this. Take a large block of text, move it down here, just take a single word, move it up here. Things like that. Quite pleasant and entertaining to work with. Let's go ahead and save this document. Which category I want to put it in. Let's just go ahead and file it in personal. Now there's no real home or file system or anything along those lines in the Newton. The way you navigate around is to use the extras in the dock. Now along the top row here, we've got a variety of buttons that we can use. Note that the things that I was just doing, such as undo and whatnot, do have shortcut keys. But the important thing is we can close this document or we can go to extras, which pulls up essentially the various applications and other places that we can go. We can use this pull down to do things like, hey, let's see what extensions are loaded. And shows us all the applications and tools that are installed. We can look at the various setup applications. Here's our setup tools, etc., etc. But what I'd really like to do is I'd like to take this work of art application and I'd like to copy it from one machine to another. Now you do that using the beam function. Now what we're going to do is let's say this document is complete and we want to send it off to a friend or email it out. I don't have email connected up right now, but I do happen to have a Newton. So I'm going to take my Newton here and power it up. And I'm going to go to in and out, and there's a button here that says receive. So I'm going to say receive a beam. And that says looking for sender. Now, the IR port, as noted on the back, is on the back of the machine here. Here's the IR port on, Here's the IR port on the Newton. So we're going to go ahead and beam this. It says looking for receiver, confirming 1 of 1, sending 1 of 1, done. And if we look over on the Newton, we see the second time I actually sent this file along, but there it is. If I look at that, that's interesting. I got a message that says this uses stationery that is not installed and cannot be displayed. Paper. Well, I'll figure that out later. But that's how you move files back and forth. As we noted before, we're actually running NewtonWorks here. So we actually have several different tools to work with. We could do calculations if you like, using a calculator. The drawing feature happens to be quite good. It's one of my favorites. That allows you to do basic tool and drawing manipulation. Delete that. Move that around. Change its size. Change its fill to a little bit of gray. Things like that. Quite handy. And of course, a spreadsheet function. Awesome. I absolutely know how to do spreadsheets. There's a couple other very handy features on the eMates and the Newtons in general. For instance, if you're in a darker room, you can actually turn on the backlighting. There's a very nice backlight via the light button here that lets you switch things on and off. The assistant is a mechanism that lets you kind of prompt on how to do things within Newton OS. So for instance, you can say, how do I move things around? How do I use the notepad? How do I use the date view? How do I write and draw? Let's take a look at write and draw. Have my handwriting recognized, take notes quickly. Okay, that's actually a good point. Let's talk about that for a second. We would really be doing the Newton a disservice if we didn't mention the handwriting recognition. The Newtons were famous for having a handwriting recognition system that allowed you to type naturally, or write naturally, and have it read your handwriting for you. The eMate, being a Newton in essence, of course has that function, although it's a little bit awkward with the screen and you have a keyboard in front of you. However, you can, under Setup, we have Writing Practice. This is the writing practice tool that lets you kind of try to figure out if your handwriting is something that the Newton can understand. So it's suggesting write out the word chance. All right, let's see how we do. Chance. 89% word match, confidence and match. Oh, it looks like it Didn't quite like the E, so let's try it again. Same word. Hey, 85% match against chance. Thinks it might. A guess here would be a lowercase c as opposed to an uppercase c. That's pretty good. Let's try a new word. Instead. Okay. Ugh. Terrible. Apparently it doesn't like having so much spacing. Let's try it again. Hey, there we go, 96% match. That's pretty good. On the very early versions of the Newtons, the handwriting recognition was painfully slow and very difficult to work with. Here, it's actually quite easy to work with. Let's try a hard one, though. Let's do hard words. Ooh, I'd, sure. Nah, not even close. All right, let's try that again. Oh, 49%. That's not bad. Let's try a different one. Art. I wonder why that's a hard one. Yeah, that was easy. Let's keep going. Fit. Apparently I'm pretty good at hard words. Cool. All in all, historically, the eMate is an important advancement for Apple computers. It is somewhat sad that it never took off and never had the life many thought it should. It's still a fun machine to play with, and I'm very proud to have one in my collection. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and would like to see more, please click the like and subscribe button down below or leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.